Hey, guys. Allison V. Spells here, your voice manager, and I unmute the voice of women who are ready to speak up about what has kept her silent for way too long. Super excited to bring you another episode of the Speak Easy podcast, where we go behind the scenes and talking about what it means to be the successfully paid speaker and author. And guess what? I think a lot of you could use some of this 70 days of happy. Matter of fact, I think you could use 140 days, possibly a whole 365. But we're going to dive into what that really looks like and what that really means for you, especially as we're heading into the second half of 2020 and trying to still end the year strong. Ish. With that being said, I'm excited to have our guest for today. Hello, Shelley. How are you?
I am so good. Thank you. You have me over here cracking up because I'm like, yes, you keep adding to it. 70 days. No, maybe we need to add 140. Well, no, maybe we need to just go for that 300. I'll forget it. Let's just take it on all the way.
Look, we need to go back to square roots.
Let's go back to square one.
Let's take back old school.
We missed something. We missed something.
Yeah, something went over our heads. We missed a turn or something in life, and
oh my gosh,
it broke loose. So
that is too funny.
Tell the studio audience a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into today's topic.
Yes. My name is Shelley Meche'tte. I am a certified life purpose coach. I am a firm believer that we really do find life when we discover purpose. It opens up our eyes. It allows us to live for something beyond ourselves. And it gives us a reason to get up in the morning when we feel like we want to put the covers back over our head. I am a self-awareness expert and the author of 70 Days of Happy, Life is Better When You Smile. Because even when you are doing all of these things, being an author, being a speaker, being all that, sometimes you need to pull back and be like, okay, I need to be able to learn how to cheese. I'm not cheesing on the inside. I'll have no smile today. I don't have no.
On the inside and deep within.
On the inside. How many of us are cheesing on the outside, but when we go home, literally, we're turning out all the lights, closing the blind, jumping in the bed, and letting the tears fall? And there's nothing wrong with that release, but we need to find where our inner joy is.
Ooh-wee. So the reason why this episode is so significant, Speakeasy podcast listeners, you all know that we're in I'm scared to even say that it's the middle of the pandemic because we don't know what it is.
I don't know. Is it the middle?
I thought it was the end, but
I thought we was moving close to coming to the end of it. Is it the middle or have we started all over again? I don't know.
Somebody hit the reset button and we were just stuck. But when it comes to deciding to be happy, because that's what it is. It's a decision. Yes. And I know so many times we get caught up in the fact that all of these things are happening and we don't really have control and we're stressed, we're freaking out. But the reality is we have control over our own happiness. So talk about that a little bit, because I think that's one of the biggest mindset shifts that we really have to grab a hold of.
Yes, and you actually hit the nail right on the head. There are so many things that we can't control. And what we do naturally as people, because I never want people to think that what you're doing is so off the wall. What we do naturally as people is that we focus on the things that we cannot control. Because naturally, that's what we do. We put things in line. We make sure things are in order. We have an ABC, catalog. Everything is laid out. And so those things that don't fit in there, that's what we try to control. That's what brings the extra stress. That's what brings the extra setback. We already have life to deal with and things that we cannot control. So instead of us saying, I can't do anything about this, let me hone into the things that I can do about, we focus more on the things that we cannot do anything about. So it is our responsibility to reel ourselves back in and decide to just take one thing that we can control, because when we try to control too many things, we drive ourselves crazy again. And that one thing that we can control is being able to say, I'm going to allow the positive side to come in. I'm going to speak things that were not as though they were. I'm going to find a peace within the chaos. And that is what I get to control. I'm going to be angry about some things because that's life. I'm going to be confused. I might cuss a little or a lot. But at the end of that, I need to find my space of where peace is going to be able to just kind of reign over me. And I need to do that daily because the pressures of life is daily.
You know, it's interesting because so many people, when they think of finding peace, because we're in this pandemic scenario, I feel like we're kind of in a movie at this point. I don't know, like we're on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, I don't know, but can the movie end? That's all I'm asking.
Like, can we get to the credit?
Somebody roll the credit.
we get to that thing of I'm going to be honest. It took me 30 something years. We're not going to say how many.
That's okay.
That number out there, but it took me 30 something years before I could even tap into what makes me happy.
So true. So true. And what you're saying is not crazy. And that's one of the reasons why I love being a life purpose coach, because a lot of times, and especially us as women, a lot of times we live through our titles. We end up doing everything for everyone else. And so we live vicariously through the title of parenting, through the title of what our careers are, through being a daughter, through being a spouse. And then we don't even know. We go to the park, 2 times a month for the children. And then we say, oh, yeah, I love going to the park. Do you? Do you love going to the park? Or have you conditioned yourself to enjoy the park because of what you do for your children? And that's not a bad thing. But what happens is we forget what has made us happy. And then we get in our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, and we don't understand why we're not content. We don't understand why we feel like we're going in a circle. We don't understand why we're fragile. And it's because we've never taken the time to stop and figure out, who am I, gather self-awareness, and what makes me happy.
That part. It was a journey, y'all. I'm
Yes.
Speakeasy podcast listeners, listen, it wasn't like it was a switch.
That exactly.
Into little me way back and grab up some Fraggle Rock and
better say it.
You have to go back to what were the things that made you smile and happy as a child, yes. And then kind of progress yourself forward.
And then you walk through that. You walk through it and see what that process is. Because at some point in time, we were told that kicking rocks is only for 5-year-olds, splashing in puddles, you too big to do that. But I say get out there and run through that rain, honey, because that is what gives you a sense of calm. Let it go. Sit in front of your door when it rains and let it come down and let it soothe you. You don't have rain, like we don't have a lot of rain in California. Girl, go get the sounds and put them on your ear.
Rain finds you some rain.
Make you some rain.
Okay.
Because that is what you enjoy. That's what centers you. That is what gives you peace. That could be a leading to what your purpose is. Stop taking those things that people say you have to grow out of, and let's go back and look at them and see how they connect to who you are today and what your purpose could be.
Whoo, that part. And so now, going back to this 70 days, why 70? Because we always hear it takes 21 days to start or stop a habit, or it takes 30 days because now, our attention span is a little thrown to the left.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It's like, okay, next. I'm not gonna lie to you. Well, number one, the first reason why it takes 70 days is because you need to be able to make a commitment. And your commitment needs to be life-changing. I understand that we said it takes 21 days to renew a habit, but if you're anything like me, on the 22nd day, I go back and eat a Snicker. And so I needed to be able, to have full dedication past that. Can I walk in this for 2 months? Can I walk in this for 2.5 months? And as I practice it, and as I continue to practice it, it is a greater step of dedication that I'm making towards myself. So that's the number one reason. The second reason is I started the journey out as a 90-day challenge with someone, which I thought was way too long. 90 days. But again, when I began to readjust my mind frame and say, what's 90 days of you walking in who you are, developing who you are, opening up your eyes to yourself. You need to stop doing that and walk out this process. And so when I was done with that, I decided, let me take some of these nuggets and put these nuggets into a book. 7 is the number of completion. And I believe that you can walk as a complete whole you if you continue to practice these principles throughout your life. Whatever fits you, great, walk with it. Whatever doesn't, shoot a meat, spit out the bones, keep moving.
Ooh, that consistency is everything. Which leads me into my next question, because during this journey, a lot of times we really go back and say, okay, I can look at the things that I did or the places I placed my feet that I shouldn't have placed my feet.
Oh yeah.
And I go, that wasn't a great idea. So do you have any of those moments, those blunders, or those moments where you look back and say, okay, that wasn't the best choice, but I learned from it?
One of the biggest things for me would be relationships. And that just came from me not understanding who I was. I grew up with an absentee father. And as much as we, don't really, we do look at it, but sometimes we kind of skip over it. Having parents in your life who both can speak into who you are, it really makes a huge difference. My first relationship with the man was with my father. And so that relationship wasn't what I needed in order to fill me. And so not having that, I put that trust into men who did not have that value. It didn't take me a whole lot to learn, but by that second time, when somebody was like, somebody was talking crazy to me, and somebody was tearing down who I was and tearing my self-esteem, I went back and said, oh, this goes back. You need to learn who you are, and you need to be able to let go of that idealistic mind that you had of what your father was supposed to be. That time is over. And you need to let that go, forgive that, find out who you are, so you're not constantly bumping your head in these different relationships. So that was the biggest learning moment, finding that happiness in me and not looking, for pieces of it in other people to validate me. And that took a minute. Girl, that took a minute. Can I just be real and say that took a minute to be able to do that? And it took more than 70 days. I'm just throwing it out there.
I can definitely agree with you on that one. You also got to have this understanding that it's a journey.
Yes.
It's a journey.
And it doesn't matter what type of journey.
It's a journey.
It doesn't matter. Mine was a self-awareness journey, which, caused me to hit my head. But through that, I learned things that made me happy. And you know why I learned it? Because I learned the things that didn't make me happy. So I'm like, okay, so let's redo this one. Let's redo this one. And that's part of the journey. And we should never be ashamed of that journey. We all want to look at the people who have made these great changes in their lives, but we forget that they stumbled, they failed, they scratched themselves, they ran into stuff, they had to do things all over again. It's the journey that propelled you to where you are. So we can't forsake the journey. Everybody who enjoys listening to me as a speaker, I promise you, there was a journey, and I ran into some walls before I could give you the best of me.
An important word that you put out there too is the shame, because shame will rob you of your happiness.
You better say it. You better say you trying to open up a whole new can. Stop.
Shame will rob you of your happiness, and
it will have you trapped in an open cage.
That's it.
Yes. And you in your mouth, you have, the medicine for somebody else who's in pain. But because you're ashamed of the things that you went through, other people aren't able to hear your story, relate to your story, and walk in their freedom. When we don't walk in ours, we stop other people from walking in theirs.
That's it. Well, I'm glad you're walking in yours.
Hey, thank the Lord. Thank the Lord.
He does a mighty thing. Okay. Because because this is something that Speakeasy podcast listeners, we've been listening to, your stories. We've been hearing your feedback about, what you've been going through during this time. Thank you for those of you that have been reaching out and coming and joining the conversation in the free group. And it's an amazing feeling to see people's lives changed, even though you haven't directly touched them in some way, or you haven't met them. But it's stories like yours. It's that transparency. It's that, being able to step forward and say, no, I'm not perfect. No, it's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to be happy with it anyway.
I'm going to learn how to extract. I'm telling you, I have, and again, this is not something that's overnight, but I have come into the mindset of, if you have to amputate one leg, I'll hop on the other one. I have to be able to extract something in there that keeps me pushing forward.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so Shelley, let them know how they can reach out to you for more information for the book, where they can find the book, and how they can find you online as well.
Yes, we can connect on Instagram. You can follow me on my page at Shelley Meche'tte, and I'll spell that out because it does not sound the way it's spelled. And it is SHELLEYMECHETTE. And so we can connect there, and we can also connect on my website, which is my name, ShelleyMeche'tte.com, where you can download for free a copy of my 5 daily happiness habits. And you'll be able to get on my email list, and we'll be able to keep in contact with one another so that I can let you know of some things that are coming out. You can also book a clarity call on my site if you need to be able to walk through into your next step and you want to create a purpose plan. Let's connect.
I know that's right. Guys, this is what it's all about. It's about taking it to that next level and finding your happiness in the midst of everything that's going on. By all means, it is a choice. And so that means that you need to decide. You need to choose choose your happiness. With that being said, I appreciate you guys, because guess what? Without the Speakeasy podcast listeners, there would be no Speakeasy podcast. So I'm your host, Altavice Pelzer. And until next time, don't forget to press it out.
Thank you so much.